This is the daily writing exercise recorded, day 45, titled Moss Honey. Imagine yourself a young woman standing alone in an empty field. The world around her had just been born, and she has been chosen as its Eve. The task set before her is quite simple. She's meant to shepherd this new world into existence and guide humanity on its proper evolutionary path from its tiny insignificant cells to the two-legged creatures it will become. Eve will exist to see it all, for she does not live. Eve merely exists as a part of the Mercurial Industries world creation package, and at the behest of David Miller, who ordered and paid for it. It is up to him now how this humanity will turn out, and it's up to her to carry out his will. It is not a thankless job, for Eve does not know what gratitude is. She's an entity made out of flesh and blood. She can feel and see and touch and experience, but she can never be more than she was programmed to be. The ability for sentience to take place has been removed per the agreement set in place in regards to planetary creations ensured as much. David Miller was made aware of this fact when he was given a presentation by a sales representative of Mercurial Industries. Under no circumstance was this world allowed to progress to a point where it could potentially threaten its creators. A flexible date of destruction was scheduled, and general parameters were set. Mercurial Industries were contractually still responsible for this aspect, and as such, reserved the right to terminate David's world whenever they saw it fit. David Miller was by no means an enterprising man. He was given the creation package by his wife for his 60th birthday. It was supposed to be something for fun, something to do for his retirement. She had heard of the package from one of her friends whose husband supposedly enjoyed it too, and whose distant cousins apparently worked for Mercurial Industries, and could thus get her a great deal. No great deal ever came, but Britta Miller nevertheless found it to be a neat gift, and had prepared it for her husband. It would get him out of the house for a few days, and hopefully bring back some life into the man who had spent most of it laboring for his family. David Miller had reluctantly accepted the gift. He had heard about the creation package on adverts on the television, and read about it on the internet. He had even discussed it with his friends, who mostly concluded that it kind of was a waste of time and money, considering the company could decide to just end your planet whatever they deemed it fit, and that there was nothing you could do about it. It was fun though, if and when you were rich, they concluded. But other than that, the scheme was deemed a scam and better to be left alone. Besides, they all worked full-time and did not have the hours in the day to spend micromanaging their societies from the beginning to their ends. David Miller had not contributed much to the conversation. He mostly asked questions and passively listened to his friends' rambling answers. It was enough for him to know, not to mention his wife buying the package for him. David did just not want to be bothered with the endless questions and possible ridicule, and likely backhanded questions and comments on his state of wealth as compared to them. So David Miller kept it quiet and almost secretively went to the orientation meeting at Mercurial Industries' satellite office. He was sectioned in with a group of 20 other people. Most were as old as he was, though there were a few young people there as well. David figured they had to be rich, considering the price tag associated with the package. The whole event lasted a day, during which David was given a tour, an extensive explanation and demonstration of Eve and the ways he and the others could control her. There was also a seminar on the camera controls, and finally, a lecture on the best ways to go about treating your society to ensure long-term success. Numerous mistakes made by previous customers were shown and warned of, with a final message stating that the company was in no way responsible for their rates of success, and that it truly was all in their hands. A quick mixer and a goodie bag later, and David was back on the road towards the airport and on his way home. The package containing the systems arrived a week later. The package essentially consisted of a custom-made computer, preloaded with the program for his specific world. It also included 6 monitors and a stand to hold them. a keyboard and a mouse, and a special headset with which he could communicate with Eve and potentially other customers if he wished to visit their worlds. The mechanics from Mercury Industries set the whole thing up in the basement. David watched them do it from halfway down the stairs. It took him about an hour to set it all up. Britta Miller served both men a glass of lemonade halfway through and asked them a few questions. She then also walked them out and wished them a good day before she returned to find David in the midst of calibrating himself to the program. She put up a chair and watched for about an hour before she had to do other things upstairs. She kissed her husband on the cheek and reminded him to take a shower and get dressed for the dinner with the Brookses across the street that very evening. David agreed absent-mindedly. He did not know it yet, but he was fully engrossed in the experience. The calibration and initial orientation had been a bit lengthy, and David had almost forgotten about it. Not that it really mattered. The interesting part started when he was finally introduced to Eve and was given the simple task of designating a spot where he wanted to treat the sprout. David looked around the planet for a long while before choosing a spot near a large body of water. He gave the order to Eve and watched her skillfully dig a small hole and plant the seed. He did not even realize that 5 hours had passed since then, until Britta came walking back down the stairs again to tell him that they had to leave in half an hour for the Brookses. David found it difficult to pull himself away from the experience. He kept thinking about it during the shower and during the dinner with the Brookses. He had Britta promise him not to talk about it until he had orientated himself a bit more, so he was more prepared to answer any questions. She didn't understand his reluctance, but agreed and pushed the conversation to the changes in the neighborhood. David in the meantime continued to think of the experience and all the things he was going to do to it. All the wonderful things, all the horrible things, and all the majestic things he was going to be creating as their one and only God. No more has been written or recorded. Thank you for listening.